What's going on, geeks and gamers? It's your observant lineman, Uche Waneri, aka Darth Slayer, aka Uche Windu, and today, sissy boy, Rian Johnson, back at it again. You know, sometimes they say it's better to keep your mouth shut and be thought a fool than to open your mouth and remove all doubt. And Rian Johnson is the perfect example as to why we are supposed to keep our mouths shut if we don't have anything constructive to say. Let's go to the article. Rian Johnson tells off Star Wars fans upset with The Last Jedi diversity. F them. Really? You bad, Rian?
Are you bad? Or is that what they teach you up at that little sissy school of yours?
Well, it's time for the geeks and gamers to assemble. Rian Johnson has an acclaimed new film opening this month with star-studded murder mystery Knives Out. But that doesn't mean he's escaped talking about Star Wars The Last Jedi fan backlash. During a Wired Live Q&A event this weekend via GameSpot, Johnson addressed his Star Wars critics yet again after one audience member implied some fans had an issue with the increased diversity in the space franchise. No, we didn't have a problem with increased diversity, Rihanna. We didn't have a problem with women or with people of color being in the movie. We had a problem with it being forced down our throats. We had a problem with heavy-handed SJW garbage being spewed all over the Star Wars brand, and we let you know about it. And that's what we do here in the fandom. We let you know when you disrespect our beloved characters and franchises. That's never gonna change. Let's continue. The Last Jedi was the most inclusive Star Wars yet. Is that really something that you have to talk about? Thanks to stars like Daisy Ridley, John Boyega, and Kelly Marie Tran, Johnson's response was blunt. If someone's responding to diversity negatively, F them. I'm triggered. I'm triggered!
The friggin' frog game!
The filmmaker clarified that not everyone who hated The Last Jedi had a problem with the film's increased diversity. There were a number of reasons The Last Jedi polarized fans, but Johnson said the backlash was not too surprising. I grew up a Star Wars fan, he said. Did you, Rian? Did you really grow up a Star Wars fan? Bum. I was in my 20s when the prequels came out. This whole idea that it's been sunshine and roses and then everyone's yelling at each other is baffling to me. People care deeply about Star Wars, and every single person has a slightly different version of what they think Star Wars is, Johnson added. And so much of the fun of it is arguing about it. Now, see, again, this just shows how out of touch Rian Johnson is with the actual fan base of Star Wars. He doesn't understand Star Wars. Because if you've been a fan of Star Wars and you know people care deeply about it, then you know that it's a space opera. So there are many things in the universe of Star Wars that we all love because it brings different perspectives. It brings different outlooks. It provides a fresh take on some of the things that we love, whether it's the EU or whether it's the canon material. But in this respect, Rian Johnson went off the rails with The Last Jedi. We all know the story. I don't got to repeat it. The guy has been the sole catalyst for the problems and the breakdown of the brand itself. And it just continues to show his ignorance, his inability to face his failures. Everything that he says about this movie, everything that he puts on paper about The Last Jedi makes it seem as if he doesn't really understand the backlash. How could you not understand the backlash? How could you be so foolish to allow yourself to not see what's right in front of you? People don't like your movie. People don't like your movie, Rian. They don't like it. You mess around and you force political agendas. When you mess around and you switch the essence of characters whose identities have been set in place for decades, when you do things just to subvert expectations, a lot of times those things can backfire, especially when it doesn't fit with the flow of the film or the canon and the lore of the universe. And once again, this guy just does not understand. When you speak in a derogative way towards people who pay their hard-earned money for a product that they have followed for decades, for a product that they've passed down to their children, for a product that has a special place in so many people's hearts, When you go after that, people are going to revolt against that. And it's foolish that you come out here and you talk down to the fans and you say, F them. I mean, how much more of an idiot can you possibly be? While The Last Jedi left some fans upset about the direction of the Skywalker trilogy, the movie dazzled film critics with a 91% on Rotten Tomatoes. Now, come on, let's be real about Rotten Tomatoes. Everybody knows that Rotten Tomatoes is a complete joke at this point. And 91% on Rotten Tomatoes for The Last Jedi is mainly from people who are of the SJW type. And if you look at the audience score of The Last Jedi, if you look at how much the audience approved of the film, it's sitting around 44%, which means 56% of the people that went and saw it actually took their time to get on Rotten Tomatoes and downvote the video. And still, the movie managed to gross $1.3 billion worldwide. The next Star Wars film, The Rise of Skywalker, is opening December 20th and features The Force Awakens Helmer J.J. Abrams back in the director's seat to close out the long-running movie saga. As for Johnson, his Star Wars future remains somewhat unclear. It's not unclear. He's not getting a trilogy, because who's gonna take a second shot on somebody who effectively ruined the franchise? Who is going to take a second shot at giving him more opportunities to just do more damage? I don't think so. That's just not how things work. Lucasfilm has announced plans for Johnson to develop a new Star Wars trilogy, a new trilogy of Star Wars movies, but not even Johnson knows when that will start. The director has said multiple times this year he's simply waiting for Lucasfilm to figure out a schedule before he begins work on another Star Wars movie. He can say that all he wants. We all know that he is just playing the game with Disney. He is not going to be getting a new Star Wars trilogy. Even with the Game of Thrones showrunners backing out and going to Netflix, I don't see a scenario where they look back and say, hey, let's bring Rian Johnson back in. That's not going to happen because, one, they can't even seem to get The Rise of Skywalker right at the moment, with multiple screenings bombing and them having to bring George Lucas back into the picture to help salvage whatever he can. At this point, I don't even think George Lucas can do much to help The Rise of Skywalker. But all of these problems that Disney is having right now stem from one simple person, Rian Johnson. We could look past some of the Mary Sue aspects of Rey coming out of The Force Awakens, but when we look at what he did to The Last Jedi, what he did to the Star Wars brand, when we look at what Rian Johnson did there, you got men getting slapped, you got men getting talked down to, you got Luke Skywalker completely transformed into a hermit and a loser. He's become a character who has become completely unrecognizable. Mark Hamill himself couldn't even handle the amount of utter nonsense that Rian Johnson brought to the character. And at the end of the day, we ended up with a movie that had no narrative, that had no specific storyline that actually made sense, but did have a lot of forced diversity, did have a lot of SJW messaging, and at the end of the day, it received exactly what it should have, a 44% from the fans. And the backlash that followed, as we all know, has been fierce. And that, again, just boils down to the fact that this guy didn't understand Star Wars. He may have been a fan of Star Wars, but he doesn't understand the characters. He doesn't understand the lore. He doesn't understand the universe. And he tried to push a movie out there that just does not fit with the space that Star Wars sits in pop culture. And for that, I have a very, very sincerely heartfelt F you to Rian Johnson. Tell me what you think. Leave your comments down below. Subscribe to the Observer Lyman Uche Waneri. Subscribe to Geeks and Gamers. Thank you very much for checking out this video, y'all. Quick hit on Rian Johnson and his foolishness once again. And I will catch you guys in the next video. Peace.
Hey everyone, it's Jeremy from geeksandgamers.com, and if you're a fan of Geeks and Gamers, please go to our website, visit our merchandise store. We have t-shirts, hoodies, hats, beanies, tank tops, and in the very near future, we're going to have many more products for you to choose from. So thank you for the support. We appreciate it. You guys have a great day, and we will talk to you later.